In case you might be wondering why every Sunday you've been here since we started our summer series on healing, you've been hearing this song, not only because it's good to have a theme song, which it is, but this is a reminder that what we are talking about here is not just a momentary event in our lives. It is a process. Healing, transformation, spiritual deepening is not a momentary action in our lives. It is a process, an ongoing process. There is a healing going on. If y'all aren't singing this song during the week, you're not hearing it enough. This should be embedded in your subconscious by now. You should catch yourself in the middle of the week going, healing going on. Then go, what am I singing? Where did that come from? If it's not there yet, we need to play it a few more times. Not right now, but we will be playing it a few more times. Okay? This is what this song is about. It's about reminding us that the healing is going on and on and on till the break of dawn. Sorry, just couldn't resist. A few years ago in this Guatemala city, this image of Jesus appeared on the wall of a church. And the very religious locals were so excited and claimed it a miracle. And they brought people who were sick. And as some of them touched this image, there were healings and curings going on. And they abruptly stopped 2 weeks later. Do you know what happened 2 weeks later? They found out that that wasn't an image of Jesus. It was a washed-out poster of Willie Nelson. Not kidding. This really happened. Belief is a powerful thing. Belief is a powerful, powerful thing. At the crux of all our transformation, what are you talking about? Healing, doesn't matter what. At the crux of all our transformation is belief. In Unity, we look to the scriptures and we look to Jesus as the way or the one who led by example. And his story of healing, according to Unity minister Ed Rabel, Jesus didn't teach us how to heal ourselves. He didn't even do it. What Jesus did was remind us that we needed to create the conditions for healing. We needed to step into a consciousness of being open to healing. That's why Jesus said things like, your faith has made you whole, to the woman who touched the hem of his garment. That's why he told the centurion who wanted his servant healed, as you believe, so it is done. Create the conditions for healing, for the shift in consciousness. When we look at this metaphysically, because, in Unity, that's how we look at the Bible, metaphysically. What that means is that when we read about Jesus in the Bible, what we're reading about is our own Christ consciousness, our own Christ nature, the I am, the power and presence of God that is the enduring spirit of who we are. That's when we read the Bible and we see stories of Jesus. That is that piece of us we're talking about. Everybody else in the story is our personality, or ego, the parts of us that doubt, disbelieve, have questions. They're all in us. So when we have these moments where we are open to a healing, it is that Christ nature of us, the God of us, that reminds the rest of us, create the conditions for healing. Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore said, in order for healing to happen, there needs to be a mental cleansing. A mental cleansing. In other words, remove all the fears, all the doubts, all the disbeliefs, all the yeah buts, all the sounds good on paper. Remove all those. And are we going to do it in an instant? No, it's a process. There's a healing going on and on. It's a process. And sometimes along the road, the process, we get hiccups. We might get a setback. We read the stories of Jesus, and there were people who doubted. and didn't mean that they didn't experience a healing. In other words, we're going to have our moments of doubt and disbelief along the way. It does not mean that we do not continue to create the conditions for healing, for making that shift in our consciousness. One of the ways we can help clean the mentalness, the mental cleansing, are all these wonderful practices we have in unity. I'm going to switch microphones here because I think we got a weird rumble. We got a healing going on and we have a rumbling going on. So we can do something about both today. One of the ways we do that is we have our spiritual practices that we share here in unity. Things like affirmations and denials, meditation, activating those 12 powers that are unique to unity. We have all these things. And another thing that we can do is to live a fully authentic life. Many of us find ourselves in positions where we take on roles, where we do things that rub up against who we authentically are. I got a few maxims by which I live my life. I'm a simple guy, open book, not complicated. So I have a few maxims like less is more. It's one of those maxims that I live by. Another one is count to 7 before you speak. That one comes in handy a lot. Count to 7 before you speak. Another one is find your passion, find your peace. In other words, and that one is really, really continue to speak to me. This idea of finding the authentic us and living who that is. And when we do that, we start to create a clear condition because there's no inner turmoil, there's no inner resistance. And that can be real difficult and subtle sometimes because sometimes we want to do the right thing. We want to do good by others. We want to be in service. And sometimes when we do those things, but they're not authentically who we are, there's a disconnect and an avenue for resentment to seep in. One of my other maxims I live by is that we can always live the both and. The both and. Not the either or, the both and. In other words, we can find places where we can authentically live, love, serve others and ourselves all at once. There does not need to be a disconnect. I recently read a story. This woman, she's a spiritual intuitive. Her name is Cynthia Rose Schossler. And she tells of her grandmother who was diagnosed with cancer and given about 3 to 6 months to live. And one of the interventions that the doctors wanted to do was remove one of her legs, because that was where most of the cancer was located. And this was years and years and years, decades ago, before medicine had gotten to the place where it is now. And at first, the grandmother was going to say yes. And then she realized, you know what? If I got 3 to 6 months to live, I'm going to make a different choice. See, the grandmother was married to a man who was very, shall we say, controlling. And was very irrational, too. He didn't like music to be played in the house. Dancing was strictly forbidden. So he really had this controlling grip on her. And she said, if I'm going to have 3 to 6 months to live, I'm going to do the one thing that I was not allowed to do my whole life in this relationship, which is dance. So she went out, she bought a record player, bought a whole bunch of Elvis Presley records. Would not have been my first choice, but hey, to each their own. Bought a whole bunch of Elvis Presley records, and she danced. And then she brushed off her piano skills and went to the old folks' nursing home and played piano for them every day. And then she danced. And 6 months stretched into 8, into 12, into 24. And this grandmother passed away from a heart attack 20 years later because she danced. Because she lived who she authentically was, because she was able to cleanse herself from all the resentment, the unforgiveness, the hesitations, the feeling enclosed. She was able to do that. There's a healing going on. It's a process. There's a healing going on, regardless of what that outcome looks like and what the struggle is. Because sometimes as we're going through this healing, this process, this cleansing, sometimes the body catches on like that grandmother. And you know what? Sometimes it doesn't. But the healing still goes on. This week I was very inspired by a little clip I saw on ESPN. It was the ESPY Awards. And there was an award presented to one of ESPN's newscasters, Stuart Scott. I don't know if you all watch ESPN at all, but there's Sports Center that just ongoing news of sport-related events. And Stuart Scott had been a long-time sportscaster there. And he was diagnosed in 2007 with cancer. And he treated it the normal, medical ways, and it'd go away, and then it'd come back, and go away, and then come back. So he was, and still continues to be, in this cycle of remission and reoccurrence. Remission and reoccurrence. Well, at the last ESPY Awards this week, he was honored and given an award for his service and for being brave in the face of this challenge. And one of the things he shared was that he had 4 surgeries leading up to that award. He'd had 4 surgeries in 7 days. He was suffering from liver complications and kidney failure. He didn't even know if he was going to be able to be there. But he was. And he accepted his award graciously. And at the end of his speech receiving the award, he asked his 14-year-old daughter to come up and give him a hug. And I was on the brink of blubbering before then, but when she walked up, fountains of tears started spilling. Sitting at my computer going, oh my God, that's so beautiful. Because, I have a 13-year-old daughter too. And the idea of just being in that position where he is and his ability to get to that place of open-hearted compassion to say, you are one of the reasons why I am still here. I was done. But he said one of the most amazing things I have heard come from someone who I don't know where his spirituality lies. I don't know what his religious affiliation is. I don't know any of these things. But he said something that totally paralleled what we're sharing about healing. And this is what he said. When you die, it does not mean that you lose to cancer. You beat cancer by how you live, why you lived, and in the manner in which you lived. So live. So live. This is how you bring healing into your life. You live. You live fully. You live authentically. You live in such a place that there is nothing in your heart but love, joy, and peace. There is a healing going on and on and on. And it is through living talks about beating and losing. Those are sports analogies. Here's what I think he really means, that when we live, we eradicate the power that anything else has over us. This is how we have a healing, by living. Sing it with the choir. There's a healing going on. Mother, Father, God, there's a healing going on. One more time. There's a healing going on. Mother, Father, God. Mother, Father, God. There's a healing going on. Sing the song, live authentically who you are, because that's how the healing is going to happen. Namaste.